The Galactic Council had sent their finest warriors. All of them had failed. Clara Wynne adjusted her glasses with trembling fingers as she stood before the massive containment field. Behind the shimmering energy barrier, something massive prowled in the darkness. The air itself seemed to vibrate with barely contained violence. "Dr. Wynne, perhaps you should reconsider," Ambassador Thelxus urged, his 4 eyes blinking nervously. "The creature has killed 17 containment specialists. It's called the Devourer of Suns for a reason." Clara clutched her datapad tighter. She had spent 3 sleepless nights analyzing every scrap of data about Varkesh, the legendary predator that had terrorized 6 star systems before finally being captured. Where others saw a monster, her trained eye as a xenobiologist saw something else entirely. Patterns. "The attacks all happened when handlers approached with weapons or showed aggression," she said quietly. "Nobody's tried simply talking to it." The ambassador made a sound like choking on water. "Talking? Dr. Wynne, that thing doesn't communicate. It only destroys." But Clara was already stepping toward the control panel. Her hands shook as she input the deactivation sequence. Every logical part of her brain screamed that this was suicide. Yet something deeper, some intuition honed by years of studying Earth's most misunderstood predators, told her she was right. The barrier flickered and died. Varkesh emerged from the shadows like a nightmare given form. He stood nearly 3 meters tall at the shoulder, his obsidian fur rippling with bioluminescent patterns that pulsed red with what everyone assumed was rage. 6 eyes, arranged in 2 rows, fixed on Clara with predatory focus. His maw could swallow her whole. Behind her, Clara heard the security team powering up their weapons. She raised one hand without looking back. "Don't," she whispered. Then she did something that made the entire observation deck gasp. She sat down on the floor, cross-legged, and opened her datapad. She began reading aloud from her research notes in a calm, steady voice. "Subject Varkesh, apex predator from the Obsidian Nebula, believed to be the last of his kind after his homeworld was destroyed by solar collapse 2 cycles ago." The massive creature stopped. Those 6 eyes narrowed, focusing with sudden, intense interest. Clara continued, her voice gaining confidence. "Pack hunter, social species, capable of complex emotional bonds, likely experiencing severe psychological trauma from isolation and loss of pack." She looked up at Varkesh, meeting all 6 of his eyes with her too. "You're not angry. You're grieving." For a long moment, nothing happened. Then Varkesh did something no one had ever seen him do. He lay down, not in an attack posture, but stretched out on his belly, head lowered between his massive paws. The bioluminescent patterns across his fur shifted from angry red to deep, melancholic blue. A sound emerged from his throat. Not a growl, but something softer, almost like a whimper. It was the sound of something ancient and powerful brought low by unbearable loneliness. Clara felt tears sting her eyes. She slowly reached out her hand, palm up, fingers trembling. "I understand," she whispered. "I know what it's like to be the last one. To have everyone fear you because they don't understand you." Varkesh lifted his massive head. Slowly, with impossible gentleness for something so deadly, he moved forward. His nose, the size of Clara's entire head, touched her palm. His breath was warm, carrying the scent of distant stars and alien forests. Behind Clara, weapons clattered to the floor. The hardened security personnel stood frozen, witnessing something that would be talked about across the galaxy for generations. Over the following weeks, something remarkable happened. Clara spent hours each day with Varkesh, learning his body language, decoding the meaning behind his bioluminescent patterns. She discovered he was highly intelligent, capable of understanding multiple languages even if he couldn't speak them. More importantly, she gave him something he'd lost: companionship. When pirates attacked the research station, everyone learned just how powerful that bond had become. Clara was in the cafeteria when the alarms blared. Before security could respond, Varkesh tore through 3 reinforced doors to reach her. He positioned himself between Clara and danger, his massive form an impenetrable barrier, his growl shaking the station's hull. The pirates took one look at the Devourer of Suns protecting the small human and fled without firing a shot. News spread across the galaxy. The monster who had terrorized star systems now followed a nervous human biologist like a devoted guardian. Other untamable creatures were brought to Clara. She approached each one with the same patient empathy, and one by one, the galaxy's most feared predators became her unlikely family. The Galactic Council, pragmatic as ever, offered Clara a position: Chief Xenobiologist and Interspecies Relations Specialist. They built her a sanctuary where misunderstood creatures could find peace. But the most incredible thing happened on a quiet evening, 6 months after their first meeting. Clara was reviewing data in her quarters when Varkesh gently nudged her arm. She looked up to find him staring at her with an expression she'd learned to read as concern. "What is it, boy?" Varkesh's bioluminescent patterns flickered in a sequence she'd never seen before. Then, slowly, deliberately, he touched his nose to her forehead. Clara gasped as images flooded her mind. Not words, but feelings, memories, understanding. Varkesh had been trying to communicate all along, and now, finally, she could truly hear him. "Thank you," the sensation seemed to say, "for seeing me when everyone else only saw death." Clara wrapped her arms around his massive neck, burying her face in his fur. "Thank you for teaching me that the scariest monsters are often just lonely souls waiting for someone brave enough to understand them." Outside the sanctuary's windows, alien stars glittered. In the observation deck, Ambassador Thelxus made a note in his official report. "Humanity's greatest strength is not their weapons or technology, but their inexplicable ability to turn the galaxy's nightmares into friends. Recommend extreme caution in any future conflicts with humans." But in Clara's quarters, human and wolf rested peacefully, proving that sometimes the most powerful force in the universe isn't violence or fear. Sometimes it's simply compassion.